So just before we begin, I'd just like to say, obviously, the Black Country Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust provides specialist mental health services for learning disabilities and community healthcare services for the population of the Black Country as a whole. So Black Country Healthcare employs approximately around 4,000 staff, combining resources, strategies, and talented workforce, which enables us to deliver a variety of outstanding services that are based on best practice and are continually improving. Now, you can find out more on our website, which is blackcountryhealthcare.nhs.uk. Every year, people in the Black Country and wider, obviously, die by suicide. And every person who lives here will be affected by suicide at some point in their life. So every effort is made that we make to prevent a suicide from happening. Across the Black Country, as colleagues, we are working hard and working with local organizations to really make a difference. And there is positive work taking place, but while people in the Black Country still by suicide, more needs to be done collectively. So I think we all really need to come together to do more. The Black Country is a diverse and a proud community living across 4 localities. So you've got Sandwell, Dudley, Walsall, and Wolverhampton. We really want to bring people together in the healthcare emergency services, local authorities, charities, schools, colleges, universities, sports hubs, businesses, and community groups, and the voluntary organizations and more. The impact of suicide is felt by all of us, and the solution to stopping suicide lies with all of us. As a team, we are committed to creating an environment where everyone, from our patients, our colleagues, to our communities, feel supported with the level of care they need, with our overall aim of tackling the health inequalities and improving their access to and the experience of mental health service provisions. And the aim of this event is really to kind of bring people together from across the Black Country, the West Midlands, and wider. And I've just picked up, I know we have colleagues even joining us for internationally as well. So we've got colleagues from Montreal and a number of states in the USA who are online as well. So, welcome to you all. And I hope collectively that, we can really make a difference and a meaningful difference to people's lives. So I will now repass over to Jeremy Rains, who is our Trust Chair, to say a few words and to officially open up the event. So over to you, Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. I've been asked to just offer a very few words to open the event, which we're very pleased to do. Mindful of the fact I'm no expert at all on this subject, and very grateful for the leadership and expertise that people bring to the room today. First thing I just wanted to say was we as an organisation are now what's called the lead provider for mental health, learning disability and autism services across the Black Country for the entire population. That's 1.2 million people we are responsible for these services for. And surely, therefore, we become the organisation that needs to hold the ring on suicide as a topic, as a set of methodologies, and we will be accountable for the progress that is made in the Black Country. And I think we embrace that responsibility, and I think it also gives us a great opportunity to bring that discussion together regularly in one place. And I think that's different to the way that the world and the health services have been organised in the past. The second point I just wanted to make was, from my understanding of the best modern approach to suicide is to sustain an active conversation with almost everyone, every organisation, and almost all the time, as opposed to silently worrying, wishing, praying, and whispering only after difficult things have arisen, i.e. effectively often when it's too late to do the level of prevention that ideally we think we could do, and we've seen in certain places around the world. And I think my reflection is, in some ways, as a society over the last 20 or 30 years, we've learned to do that with safeguarding. We've learned to be more watchful, more curious, more active, prepared, vigilant, and trained up. And we continue to train up more and more people to be aware in safeguarding. I've been very impressed recently seeing some of the grassroots sports and voluntary sector organisations who've now got safeguarding officers in the places of worship and elsewhere, none of which was the case 15 or 20 years ago. And if that has worked, that methodology to get the whole of society to be watchful and protective and helpful in safeguarding, particularly for children and elderly vulnerable people, then I really do feel that potentially with suicide and some other issues, we as a society can be organised and equipped to do more in these fields, which in the past have been left to individuals to suffer and bear the consequences without that level of support. Again, if this is so, then the lead provider role that this organisation holds has got to be used to sort of lead forward in this area. I think the very last thing I would say is, knowing that I was going to make this little introduction here today, I did reflect back on my whole life to think about where suicide had touched my life. It is much less than many of the people on the call today, and many of you will have worked in this field. But nonetheless, I could recall pupils, teachers, workmates, and others through my life and my career who've been affected by suicide. And I realized that intermittently, I think of all of these people every so often. So even a life that has not been heavily affected by suicide, when you think about it, actually has. And therefore, it showed me that the issue is, it affects all of our population, all of our society, all of our time, and anything we can do to prevent such harm is positive. So thank you everybody for attending today. I really don't want to take up any more time. Good luck to the presenters. Let's pray the IT holds together, and I look forward to being with you for a really interesting couple of hours. Thank you, Mohammed, and thank you, David.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Jeremy. Really appreciate that. And thank you for being with us. And yeah, let's do hope IT holds on us the next couple of hours or so. All being well. Okay, I'd like just to move on now to our second speaker, who is Kamal Uddin. He is the PMO project manager. And Kamal will introduce the World Suicide Prevention Day and also go through some of the events that we have done and where we are heading as far as our vision is concerned for the future. So he will go through that. Kamal?
Yeah, thanks, Yasin. Thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Lovely to see so many people, like Yasin had said, and Jeremy has also mentioned. I just want to sort of take a brief moment to sort of go through some of the work we've started and how, and also about the World Suicide Prevention Day, the planning behind it and the thinking behind it and the methodology. And it might all sound project, but I promise I won't keep it as boring as that. I'll make it interesting in terms of what we're doing. So I'm a transformation project manager. I work for Black Country Healthcare, but however, under the lead provider and under the new integrated care system, I now work across the whole region. So I'm not exclusively for the organization only. I work across the whole patch. So when moving straight into sort of why World Suicide Prevention Day and sort of how this links into all the work we're doing. So obviously World Mental Health Day is sort of upon us as well, which is in a couple of weeks' time. But the World Suicide Prevention Day, sort of Yasin and David led on last year, and was quite it's quite apparent that they had a captive audience in terms of the people's interest in this area and the passion and the emotiveness of this whole work. So we felt it's worth sort of continuing that, so we can sort of we're in a different position. I'll talk to you about that position in a second in terms of where we are with the work. And we felt that this is a great opportunity to sort of not only just promote what we're doing, but also to bring in people who might be interested, who've got a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and a lot of knowledge and skills that can enhance what we're trying to do here. Because as we all know this. No, there is no one fix for suicide prevention. And if our ambition is true about zero suicide, which we're aiming for, and hopefully we will get there, the reality is that we're trying to sort of make sure that the right people are in the conversations and the people who can action things. And without sort of sounding rude, it's not about meetings after meetings, it's more about the doing. So it's about the deliverable. So if you're talking about project management and high level, it's about what we're delivering, how's that making a meaningful impact to the individual within the Black Country. We've got 1.3 million people within our Black Country. Now, I'm excluding our sort of crossover with the other patches like Birmingham and Solihull, and there is another wider piece of work happening with that, but that's a conversation for another time. So I guess the World Suicide Prevention is like Day is like a marker for us in terms of where we can sort of take stock and almost tell people and make them aware of what's going on. We need your help, or where you can get involved and how we move things forward. So I'm just conscious of the time, and Yasin's looking. We're in the same room, by the way, and Yasin is looking at me. So I'll quickly run on to my presentation. I don't know if it's worth displaying my presentation. Kate, are you displaying it, or am I? Okay, Adam's doing it. Thank you. Yeah, Adam, if you go on to the first. Thank you. So I mean, I can read this and I can tell you about all this, but I think what I need to tell you is what's happened and what's going to happen, and how we need your support. And I guess that's more important, not just to me, but to what we're trying to achieve here. As an organization, we've been working on suicide prevention proactively for the last 3.5 years. We've come to a sort of a great position now. I mean, I know David and Yasin have been working tirelessly in the background around a lot of the training aspects and awareness aspects, but also finally we've taken it as an organization to sort of push this agenda forward and have some meaningful work with our local partners. And that includes sort of voluntary sector as well as local authority and public health colleagues who are on this call are aware the work we're doing, because we're doing it in partnership. And I guess some of the priorities for us has been sort of looking at sort of ensuring that we understand what's already in the community. We understand not just from a sort of support mechanism, but also what training is available. Now, when we look at training, there's like any training, there's quite a substantial amount of training available for suicide prevention. But however, if we in the Black Country do not speak the same language, so for example, if I've been trained on one certain particular training format, and then I want to go on, someone comes and accesses the service and they want to discuss something with me, my training or not knowledge around the sort of other training might lead to sort of confusion in how I deal with that person, or a discrepancy in how I deal with that individual. So what we've trying to do is uniform the training. So we'll with the time, I mean, I can talk about timelines and scales and things like that outside of this meeting, an offline conversation, anyone's interested, but I just want to give you the sort of the bare bones of what we're doing. And so we want to develop a training matrix, a competency framework around training. So we're looking at training for not just sort of professionals, we're looking at individual training for GPs, we're looking at training for carers, we're looking at training for frontline staff. And when we say frontline staff, these are your non-clinical frontline staff. So these are people who you first see when you go into, say, for example, in our situation, in one of our hospitals or in one of our community bases. But then pushing that wider to sort of the context of local authorities. So we know not all suicide is because of mental health. We know there's wider determinants of health and inequalities that leads to suicide. We know not all self-harm is to do with suicide. So you know, there's some facts that we know, and we've learned that over many years, but it's evidence-based. So we know that the training needs to be developed and rolled out to places like sort of housing sector colleagues, benefit colleagues, so that when someone's going through that level of distress, or that is what the trigger mechanism is for that individual, we can get the right support in the right place. So that's just one element of it. That's the training, and I don't want to sort of dismiss the training at all, because it's a big part of it. And what we're trying to do is uniform that training across our locality. We're still in the scoping stages. The other element is around what we call the real-time suicide surveillance system. Now, the real-time suicide surveillance system is there's two parts to it. One is about understanding from the data it produces what the trends might be, what we need to look out for, what practices we need to change. So, I mean, I don't want to go into examples because it can be quite sort of emotive in terms of what the examples are, but it helps you sort of not just shape services, but how you deliver those services as well, and what to sort of look out for. So, and it is an all-age system. The system doesn't discriminate between sort of young people, adults, and older adults, because we know there's often in the wider scheme we can lose the children element of things. And now, more recently, and more apparent now, especially just on the other side of COVID, we've had a lot of older adult self-harm and older adult suicides. So I guess as a sort of community, a Black Country community, we need to sort of look at what's our local priorities. And I want to add now, I mean, all of this is in line with sort of NICE guidelines, in line with the NHS England's sort of suicide prevention strategies and plans. So the real-time surveillance, that's the one element where we use the data as qualitative data to ensure we approach the services and design services in the right manner and make sure that the right service is available and the appropriate service is available. The other element is the crucial element, and this is where everybody in this call comes into play. And this is the sort of the community alliance, the community network that we talk about. I was going to say, Adam, you can go on to another slide if you want to, but I'm just, yeah, that'll be great. Thank you. And this is where it all comes in. So I guess there's two elements to this. There's the community network. So we want to develop 4 community networks in conjunction with all the partners around here, each for each locality. I'll add, I'm from Walsall, so whatever I say around Black Country, I say it with love rather than anything other than that. And I know that being from the Black Country, we're quite sort of precious about our towns and where we live. So I guess I'm just only following that up by sort of saying we will have locality-based approaches to suicide support, and that's bereavement support, post-vention support, and early support as well. So like self-harm and things like that. Now, that community alliance has been developed across the country in various forms, and the one we were hoping to roll out or sort of investigate to see if it's appropriate for us is the Orange Button scheme. And all it does is get a group of organizations together. There's no limit on how many people are part of that group in terms of providing that wider support. So an individual might come in to say, for example, A&E colleagues realise that this is accident emergency. Sorry, I do use a lot of acronyms working in the NHS. Might come into A&E and colleagues there realise that it's not a health issue and possibly not even a mental health issue, but it's, however, if we can get this person's employment sorted, it might sort of alleviate some of this sort of issues that they're facing at the moment. So I guess this is where that network comes in. Through that network, you don't make a referral. It's basically you call the provider up and say, look, I've got someone here, presented themselves. When can you see them? Make that appointment for them, and they go and see that. And that's how it works. So it's almost a smooth transition of a person. It's almost like a department store of support, if lack of a better phrase. So that's what will we get now. In terms of the other element of this is, so you've got the sort of the community support, but then you've got the bereavement support. Now, in the Black Country, I don't know if everyone's aware, Rethink have sort of the provision to deliver bereavement and post-vention support. Now, there is information available from online. There is information available for them through sort of the suicide prevention forums within the Black Country, and also through us from Black Country Healthcare as well. Now, that's a service that came live in July this year, and it's already started working with quite a few referrals. I'm going to talk to people as referrals purely because I don't want to go into the details of individuals. So the referrals have come in and they are working with people. And there is a sort of a timeline with that as well, in terms of it's within 72 hours of an event. So all these things are still in development. We're still learning and we're still trying to work towards it. I want to finish off, I'm just mindful of the time, and by sort of saying some of the work that's coming around in the future. So what we envisage, and we hope that we will have peer support groups around the localities, and that these peer support groups will be for all forms of groups. In terms of there's the Samaritans research around high risk groups and vulnerable groups. So clearly we will allude to that. And in terms of setting up peer support groups, you'll be around that. And I think a lot of the marginalized groups, in particularly LGBTQ community, having groups for that, children, young people's groups, and these have to be sort of appropriately manned and managed through the right bodies and the right services. And again, these are all plans. None of this has been set up yet, and this is where we probably need your help and support in terms of developing these things. So moving on from that, in terms of looking at sort of some other sort of high risk categories, which would be sort of like, I know we don't have much farming land, but we do have farm areas and farms within the sort of our locality areas, so on the borders of Wolverhampton and Stafford, on the borders of Walsall and Stonall and places like that, we have farms. But there's a high risk category there, farmers that are high risk category as well. And then on the other side, you've got the Gypsy, Roma and Traveller community as well, which a lot of people say are hard to engage, but I guess it's a case of whether you want to try or you and what approach you're using. But that's a conversation for another place. I think in terms of approach and methodologies. So in terms of wrapping this up, I mean, there's a lot of work that's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. Part of that will be safety planning, which I don't want to go on to too much because Dave and Rob will be talking about that in a few minutes. But in terms of the work we're doing as an ICS, it's mainly around delivery now. It's mainly about how we're making that impact and how we sort of helping people and how close are we getting to that zero suicide ambition. And I want to sort of finally finish off by saying this work isn't just us, BCH, Black Country Healthcare, looking externally. We're actually looking internally as well. So we're doing audits internally. We're having reporting mechanisms put in place. We've got a group which meets on a monthly basis, led by our Deputy Clinical Medical Officer, who sort of leads on the suicide prevention work. So it's not just an external vision, it's also an internal vision as well. And I think together what we can do is get that zero suicide, because when you talk about lives, regardless of how many, we're not on the highest percentile in terms of the country, but 6 lives is 6 lives. I don't want to end up with that note, but I guess there's that seriousness of this work as well, and it is close to my heart because I think it's something that requires quite a level of dedication, and I'm fortunate to have that core group with me. You'll see them as we talk, as the event progresses. So that's really it for me. I'm happy to pick up conversations and sort of questions offline if anyone wishes to take this conversation further, and I'm happy. I'll put my details in the chat. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for that. Oops, always on mute first. Thank you for that, Kamal. Appreciate your time for a very detailed presentation. There's a lot of information to take in there. And I hope that's kind of given a sense of a breakdown of the work that is happening behind the scenes around suicide prevention. There is a lot of work. And like Kamal has already mentioned as well, suicide prevention is not just our work, our job. You know, it's what we live and breathe, but it's also everyone's business. Suicide prevention is everyone's business. We can't do this work alone, so we collectively need the input of the communities, the organizations that we work with, you people that are here on this event. So like Kamal said, if you've got any ideas, any suggestions around the presentation or what you hear today, please feel free to get in touch. You've got contact details for all of us. You've got my contact details, get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to, sit down, have a chat, and how we can really make a meaningful difference. That is what we want at the end of the day, how we can make a meaningful difference to people's lives, how we can really save lives. So thank you for that. Just looking at the time. I'm just going to hand you back over to my colleague, David Stocks, who I think who may have a poem to share with you. So I'll hand you over to him, and then we'll speak to you shortly. Thank you. Over to you, David.
Thanks, Yasin. I'm afraid you've got me twice today. Lucky you. Unfortunately, we wanted to do a young people's slot today, but because of the rearranging of the times, we couldn't get the speaker we wanted. So we're going to do that in a future event, but also older adults. So please don't despair. We're not missing you out. You have got me, unfortunately, twice now, but I've got lots of useful things to say, I hope. I'm going to tell a little story, and I know most of you heard my story before. Well, a lot of people have heard my story before. So this is a different story from my past, and I think is relevant. A bit about me first is I've got bipolar, well, been diagnosed as bipolar, and also I've recently been diagnosed autistic, and I'm a middle-aged man, so I am extremely high risk. But I'm fine because I've got all the support mechanisms around me. In a previous job, I worked for RADAR, Royal Association of Disability Rights, which is now Disability Rights UK. And I used to have to commute there at least once a week to London, which is quite a trek from the Midlands. And the local tube station that I got off at, nearest to the office, was called Angel Islington. And I got off there and I was going up the escalator, and someone tapped me on the shoulder, said, "You're all right, mate." And that woke me up. I thought, actually, no, I'm not. I didn't say anything to him, but just him saying that, reaching out to me, really helped me, because it made me realise actually I was going through a bit of a crisis at that stage, and it was starting to come on. So I was able to get the support mechanisms in place before it fully hit me, all because that man on the tube tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, you're all right, mate." And I now refer to him as my angel from Islington, because it's the Angel of Islington tube station. And that is why it's so important to ask people, ask each other how you are. It is so important. And I always take time to ask everyone how you are. And I probably harped on to about Ask Twice to people before, but Ask Twice is a campaign set up by Time to Change. And if I ask someone how they are, I generally get the de facto response, "I'm fine." So there's two reasons for that. One, we're all programmed to say, "I'm fine." And two, most people don't genuinely believe you're asking. You're genuinely interested in the answer. So Ask Twice means you can follow up that question by saying, "How are you really?" And that gives the person a chance to open up what they're really feeling. It doesn't have to be "How are you really?" but it's just genuine follow-up question of how you are really. And that is so important, because if someone bottles something up, it just lingers in there, festers in there like a wound until it can be too late. So asking twice is so important. Now I've got a poem. I'm sorry about this. I do sort of impose my poems on everyone. So you all have to face up with my bad poetry. So the poem is called Silent Scream. How are you doing? Words so often spoken, but for many, they're just a token. Like most others, I toe the line, and all too often, and say I'm fine. Yet deep inside, there's something stirring, buried deep and not transferring. A silent scream cannot be heard. It takes more than a casual word. So when you ask, how are you doing? Say it with your heart and give it meaning. And if in doubt, say it again. Give that silent scream the chance to vent. It doesn't matter if everything is fine, but never leave it to another time. All too often, those screams aren't heard. Don't miss your chance. It only takes a word. So that's my message. Always ask each other how you are and be there for each other. And as Yasin said earlier on, you know, suicide prevention is everyone's business. You know, 70% of suicides are not known to services. This is a community event. We just need to get that message out there. Need to get talking to each other, looking after each other, looking out for each other. So I will leave on that note. Are we running on time?
Yeah, we're fine.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, that's fine. We're doing good on time, and that was really great. I really like the poem. Amazing, as all of your poems, David. They're unique, and they really have a message as well. They're not just poems. They really have a meaningful message that can really give hope to somebody. And I think what you said about the ask twice question as well, it is, again, it is important because I think it can make such a great difference. It's so simple, just by asking someone, how are you? If you notice something that abnormal, and really just reaching out to them. That's how we're going to be. We will make a difference by reaching out to people. So that was really nice, which really kind of brings me on to our next speaker, which is David again, and joined by Rob, who will talk about safety plans. And I don't want to go in too much into details, and I will leave that because David and Rob are the experts in safety planning. So I will hand you back over to David and Rob.
Thanks, Yasin. Have you got the slides?
Yeah, I think Adam should bring them up very shortly. There you go.
So there I am in big letters, but Rob is in big letters too, and so he should be. It's Rob that first got me onto safety plans, and he's sat next to me now, being very shy, he's been passionate about safety plans for a long time, and really promoting it. And without that driving force, it wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been able to sort of get the same passion about safety plans myself and the same understanding. So I really appreciate everything Rob's done as far as safety plans are concerned. So that said, what is a safety plan? Adam, yep, fantastic. All right. And Dr. Alice Cole-King, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, is a leader in this area. At times of distress, safety plans become a valuable reminder what people can do for themselves to get through difficult times, practical ways they can make their situation safer, who to contact for support, and where to go. Where to go in an emergency. So this is a safety plan. Do we have a separate screen with the safety plan? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, next one. No, go back to this one. Sorry. You see how organized I am. I'm the ultimate professional. So a safety plan. On the right hand side, you can see the safety plan. And the first bit, getting through right now. Now, a safety plan, it's all about protection in the time of a crisis. So it's something that you make ahead of that potential time. So I'm going to start off with it. Can people put in the chat? I'm going to deluge the chat now. Who do you think should have a safety plan? Because a safety plan, oh, brilliant. I am so pleased, everyone. So if we're all saying everyone, who's got a safety plan? Fantastic. There's a note there. Thank you for your honesty. And the people who say no, I thank them for their honesty. But, you know, if they can, make a safety plan, because everyone should have a safety plan. I'm fine at the moment. And I'm my usual chaotic self, which means I'm fine. But I have a safety plan. And my safety plan is by me here. Now, safety plan should, I've just seen Brian, he said, not a service given safety plan. Spot on. You should make your own safety plan. A safety plan should be made by yourself or with support from someone. It doesn't have to be a professional. Because it should be in your own words that is relevant to you. It should not be full of clinical jargon. It should be appropriate to you. So, things to get you through right now. That's really important. It's just putting that pause. That pause. You hit crisis. You hit crisis. To me, when I hit crisis, it's like a volcano. My head is absolutely boiling over inside. It's a right old mess. How do I sort that one out? So I need something to get me through right now. So I'm a keen photographer. So I look at some of my favorite pictures. I love the outdoors. So I take a step outside, take deep breaths. Think about a positive memory. Something that's special to me. Yeah, maybe my marriage in Italy or something, a real special memory. Or read a special poem, preferably not one of mine. So there's all sorts of things you can get help you get through right now, and it'll all be individual to yourselves. So you don't have to copy my safety plan. In fact, please don't, because it probably isn't safe. Just do one that's appropriate to yourself or the person you're helping create a safety plan. And I say helping create because it's got to be done in their words. So next bit, making a situation safer. For me, make sure that my medication is either locked away with a key that someone else has got, or it's I've only got a certain amount of medication in the house that won't affect me. Also, get myself away from where the situation is bad. So for me, again, getting outdoors, getting away from the environment I'm in will make it safer. To some people, it may be safer to go to a public place, to go to a cafe or something, to get themselves into a safer place. Remove sharp objects could be one. So anything that can be made to make you safer. And then things to lift or calm your mood. And please put in your suggestions in the chat about things that you've put in your safety plan or you would put in. It all helps. It helps each other. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Because one that I hadn't thought about is have an emergency bar of chocolate. It's great. Chocolate lifts your mood. Just chomping on a piece of chocolate, it's great. So have an emergency bar of chocolate or something. So things to lift your mood. On my safety plan, I've got write a poem. I actually struggle to read anything when I'm in crisis, but funnily enough, I can write. So write a poem. That is something that lifts my mood. I apologise because I keep mentioning poetry. You're going to get poetry rammed down your throats today, so I do apologise for that. But it's my passion. Everyone has their own passion. Take a picture. Again, it's my passion, photography. I hardly come anywhere without a camera. I haven't brought my camera today, but mainly because it's foggy. But even fog, you can take some good pictures in. Look at a photo of a great view. So I've been lucky enough to been to some lovely places, lovely views. So I've taken photos of great views, but there's also plenty available online. Listen to my favorite music. And it could be anything. It could be calming music. But if I'm really feeling angry and angst, I may put heavy metal on. It's whatever suits the situation, just to get it out of you. Time with my pet. Well, I've got 3 dogs, 2 cats, 2 rabbits, and a pond full of fish. So hopefully by the time I've been around that lot, I'll either calm down or gone stir crazy. But pets can definitely calm me down. So I find great therapy with my dogs and cats and things. So great way of go to a safe place. Well, normally I present things from my beach cabin, but my team here decided to drag me into the office once, so I'm in the office. But if I started to panic now, I'll be heading straight back to my beach cabin. So that's a safe place to me. go for a brisk walk. So to me, the outdoors and nature is second to none. Getting outdoors in nature, even in the rain or the dark, I just love it. I just love nature. It revitalizes me. It's the one thing that can really make a difference. And if you're in a town, there's still parks, there's still green areas within towns that you can go to. So I'm lucky because I live in the countryside, but in the village, but I know a lot of towns are very built up, but there's green areas within towns. Whenever I'm in towns, I try and go to the green areas. Okay, things to distract you. Well, I just seen a good one comment here. I have faith, I pray. Prayer is a great one. For those who practice faith, prayer is a great one that can get you through. So always think about that. Things to distract you. So what have I got to distract? I could do some art. Art is something I learned through the Recovery College. I'm going to plug the Recovery College now. The Recovery College is absolutely fantastic, and it's a place where you can learn new skills, meet people, become less isolated, and it does what it says on the tin. It helps you recover. It's not just a matter of being cared for the rest of the life. You can recover, and that's important, giving that hope. So I learned some art. I didn't realize I could do art through the Recovery College. I've just had a prompt. We've got a Mentimeter to do. There are a few other boxes. There's people who support you. I've got my wife, my mum, my brother, and then there's emergency contacts. You could there's Calm, there's the 24-hour Black Country hotline, various things. Emergency professional support. I've got my the number for my care coordinator, NHS 111, GP, or 999. So all of those are contacts, but we need to go over to the Mentipol now.
People were asking about electronic.
Brilliant, thank you for that.
Unmute. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, David.
Yeah, sorry, can I just finish? I just got a prompt for my good pal Rob. You can get an electronic version, which is what I did. And you can download these. And I should have said this as well. I told you my mind, it's all over the place. From stayingsafe.net, and one of our team will put stayingsafe.net into the
I think that's already been put into the chat.
Yeah, it's already in the chat. So stayingsafe.net,
yeah,
it's in the chat. Absolutely fantastic. And there's some videos from Alice Colking explaining how to fill it in as well. But there's an electronic version which I found easier to use, but you can also download and print a version off. Right. Okay, on to the Mentimeter. We've got some questions that we've got to whiz through now because I think I've slowed us down.
No, that's fine. David, can I just also mention
we've had a number of questions coming in through the chat as well, which we'll try and answer as much as we can, as best as we can.
Yeah.
But also just to let everyone know as well that we will send the links, all the links to the safety plans, and even a copy or template of the safety plans as well for people to use post-event with the rest of the material and the slides. So everyone will get a copy, so we will be with you.
So what do you think are the benefits of having a safety plan? And the results are coming in. I love being able to say that. The results are coming in. I feel like I'm on the Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah.
I think everyone is familiar because we can see the results coming in. But just in case, if this is the first time you're using Mentimeter, all you need to do is just log on to a device, internet, and just log on to www.menti.com, and it will just ask you to enter this code 28036501, and you will be prompted with this question, and you just need to put your answer in. That's how simple it is. Thank you.
Well, accessible is coming in big and strong there. It's got to be accessible at the time that you need it. And that's why it's so important that it's written in from the person's perspective in their own language. It should be written by them if possible, but certainly aiding speaking in their language. Clearer idea of what to do. That's coming in big and strong. Absolutely fantastic. Honestly, when I go into a crisis, as I say, my head's like a volcano, where thoughts are all over the place. I've got no clear idea about anything. That is where a safety plan comes in. Being prepared. Yeah, being prepared, I always say it's like having an insurance policy. You don't know if you'll ever need it, but by having it, it's there in case. You don't know what life event might come about, so everyone needs a safety plan. Being prepared, awareness, focus thoughts, that's a good one. As I say, I struggle to focus my thoughts. Others can follow it, yeah. So you should give other people that you know in confidence your safety plan. Protection, saving a life. I know it's obvious, but that's what it's all about. It literally will save lives. Comfort, practical. It's personal to you. I can see down the bottom, that is so true. It's got to be personal to you. Preventative. That's what it's all about. Resource, yeah. So it's got resources there. You could have links. You could have links to websites and things that help you. And the resource, it's a resource itself. I think that is a fantastic summary of safety plans, but the biggest is clear idea of what to do, awareness, preparation, clarity, being prepared. It is so important. Have we got that?
Dave, it's Kate. I'm gonna share the second and third questions now.
Right. We're just having a technical issue there. All right, sorry about that. What is the most important element of a safety plan to you? So again, go to the Menti, use the code 62025918. What is the most important element of a safety plan to you? Emergency contacts is coming up big and strong here, which is very, very true. And the emergency contacts don't have to be professional. Often the best emergency contacts are close friends and relatives that can support you. Personal to you, definitely. Definitely, it's got to be personal to you. I don't think anyone else would like my safety plan. Although personal centered is coming up big and strong, which is fantastic. The actions I should take, yeah, it's that clarity of actions I should take. Individualize, again, that's personal again. Feeling in control, yeah. When you're most out of control, it gives you that control. So true. How I can help myself, making it safer now. Having someone to talk to, yeah, so important. You know, pick up that phone. You got that safety plan there. Pick up the phone. Have it. Give that person a call. Family and friends. Yep, family and friends should have a copy and made aware what it is and what it's for, and how to use it and how it supports you. Making it safer now, yes, that is crucial. A safety plan, that's that moment of interruption. Just takes one moment of interruption to stop potential of someone taking their own life. You've got that moment of interruption, it's here on the safety plan. So it's making it literally does save lives. Counteract hopelessness, yes. Absolutely does counteract hopelessness. Getting help. Simple, yeah. The safety plan that we recommend is the connecting with people one. Doesn't matter which safety plan you use, but connecting with people one is color coded, it's nice and clear, it's simple. If I can do it, it must be simple. So yeah, I am the world's worst with forms, but even I can do a safety plan. So honestly, it's so important to be clear and simple. We're going to the next. So, where are good places to promote safety plans? And the Menti again, 33251302 is the code, www.menti.com. Work, family, home. Everywhere, yes. Don't have to be specific. Everywhere is. This should be promoted everywhere. That's something that Robert's taught me, is the fact that safety plans should be promoted everywhere. Literally everyone he bumps into ends up having a safety plan, whether they want it or not. So everywhere should a safety plan. But there are particular places, work, faith groups, schools, friends, relatives, doctors. Yes, doctors. Rob just pointed out to me, doctors. That's a big one. Hmm?
Education of awareness. And
Yeah.
with GP.
At the moment, we're rolling out some training to GPs within the Black Country to educate them on the suicide awareness, and also using the SAFE tool to help their service users, patients, create safety plans. So that is, doctors is somewhere that everyone goes at some point. I've just seen a comment. We have med stickers to tell where people can find it. That's fantastic. On fridges. On fridges. Have you done that yet, Rob? Ah, it's going to be out there on everyone's fridge now. Among the family, with friends, definitely. Waiting rooms. We'll get back to the doctors and hospitals, etc. Schools, care homes, anyone who reaches out. As many places as possible with everyone, waiting rooms. So yeah, I think everyone has got a really good idea of safety plans, and you will not hear me shut up about it. I'm doing another event next week, and I'm going to talk about safety plans, because safety plans is a one sure thing that you can do quickly that potentially will save lives. In fact, it definitely will save lives. So that is, oh yeah, on stayingsafe.net there is a safety plan poster that you can download and stick to a fridge, and it has a QR code that will take you to the safety plan. Someone just put a comment in there, which is fantastic. So get printing those posters out and sticking them everywhere, anywhere that Rob hasn't got to already. Right, okay, are we on to you? Hand back over to you, Yasin.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much for that, David. A really interesting session around safety plans, and we have some really great responses from the audience. And now this information is going to be taken away, and we can actually utilize all of your responses. And what we will also do is post event with you, with all the material and the slides. So some really useful information there. Brilliant. I think we're just slightly behind schedule. I think what might be a good idea is to take a 5-minute breather, a comfort break. Before we move on to our next guest speaker, I think there is a video that we would like to play, and then we will come on to the speaker. And I hope everyone is kind of back, and you can actually watch this video and take it in. It is about 20 minutes long, so what we may do is play about 10 minutes first, and then play the remaining 10 minutes a bit later on, after we've introduced the guest. Yeah, I'm just going to say I've seen this video a number of times now, and I think there's so much learning you can take away from this video. And one thing that really always, every time I watch it, sticks out is when the gentleman towards the beginning of the video, I think Simon, who is the partner of Dr. Sangeeta, and he says the number of people must have seen him sitting there at the station bench for nearly 2 hours. and so many people just walking by. And this kind of relates back to what my colleague David was saying earlier, just by asking somebody, if you see someone, if you notice someone in your day-to-day life, and just really asking them if you see something abnormal, that something is not right, if you just pick up any signs, that, how are you? Are you okay? Just, trying to bring up a conversation. And just, I think by bringing up a conversation, you can really make a difference. People will have the courage and the confidence to open up to you, to say, no, well, I really need some help, or I need some guidance. And that is, I think, the point where you can make a difference to someone's life. You can help prevent a suicide. So I don't want to say too much more here, but what I will do is we are proud to have Dr. Sangeeta joining us this morning. She is here with us from her busy schedule. And it wasn't an easy task trying to get her on board. So I'm really pleased that she is able to join us. And just to give you a bit of a background around Dr. Sangeeta. So Dr. Sangeeta Mahajan is a consultant anaesthetist at Guy's and Thomas Foundation Trust in London. She tragically lost her gifted and gorgeous son, Sagar Naresh, who you saw in the video, at the age of 20, to a short but serious mental illness in 2014. She is now a mental health activist and educator, a qualified trainer in youth mental health first aid, and has trained many teachers on how to help students in difficulty at an early stage. Through writing and speaking, she endeavors to engage with as many people as she can so that everyone can work together to prevent young suicide by raising awareness and reducing stigma. She empowers people to have compassion for themselves and for those around them. And she aims to enhance the confidence of carers by supporting them with knowledge on how to interface with services and resources. She also works with bereaved families, helping them and herself cope with their impossible predicament. So I would like to now hand it over to Dr. Mahajan. Sangeeta Mahajan, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. Yes, and I know this film is difficult to watch, and I think it is very brave of you to actually show it. But the film has been made with the idea of creating compassion, really, and questioning our values as a society. Do we actually value people who are suicidal? Do we value their lives enough to want to be trained to be able to save them, save their lives? Are their lives worth saving or not? Does the medical curriculum, does it do justice to mental health education, even amongst doctors? For instance, when Sagar was ill, he was prescribed antidepressants. No safety plan was drawn up. There was no conversation around suicide, even though his depression scores were maximum 27 on 27. They don't get worse than that. And yet the conversation was not had because we still stigmatize suicidal ideation. And of course, we are lay people as a result. We think, oh, he's such a good looking young man. He's from a good family. It doesn't happen to people like this. I never thought it would happen to somebody like me. I'm just a regular person who does their best to bring up their families. Of course, families, there's no such thing as a perfect family or a perfect life or a perfect childhood. But these conversations need to be had. And I hope this film will generate compassion also for ourselves. In medicine, we are not encouraged to be vulnerable, or not just in medicine, in most professions. If you're vulnerable, you're weak. That's the interpretations. We are very hesitant to get in touch with our own vulnerabilities. And unless we can have compassion for our own hardships, acknowledge ourselves for what we bring to the world and the difficulty of our jobs, then we value ourselves more and we interface with the world with more compassion because we have compassion for ourselves. I never had any compassion for myself until Sagar died. Even after he's died, I've given myself such a hard time trying to think about, all the things about that we could have done better, simple things like maybe I should have fed him more vegetables, maybe he should have not gone to that school, or that maybe you should never have left India, maybe we should, so many questions. And yet when he died, after that, at some point I said, no, I need to turn to myself with compassion. This is really hard, And that's when I actually turned and I could, while I was so angry with the medics and everybody, but I could turn it around and I said, no, actually, nobody gets up in the morning and comes to work thinking, today I'm going to make a blunder, But we are not educated. We need to educate ourselves. So, and we need to have compassion for ourselves. And look at these people. We see them when they're the sickest. We don't see them when they're well. They're bright sparks. They're beautiful people. So actually remember that, their lives have value. And treat them like you would your own mother or your own child. So, so that's the invitation, really, to live a more compassionate life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta. Thank you for those kind words. And I think you've just kind of summed it up really, really nicely around some of this. And also you mentioned the word stigma as well. Obviously, that still plays so much in society, in some of the communities that we actively work and engage with, even to this day, to even talk about mental health, and suicide as well. It's still classed as stigma, and we want to try and break away from that, and really kind of tell people that it is okay, to talk about suicide and mental health, and everyone from time to time will go through some kind of form of mental health during their lifetime, and that there is help available, and we need to kind of steer people towards that help and support that is available, whether it's through the NHS or other local organizations, charity organizations, that there is lots of help available. And as I think that those are some of the barriers that we need to overcome and the challenges that we need to overcome in terms of engagement and working alongside communities.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I would like to say that, we need to acknowledge the voluntary sector, really. And we, as social workers, schools and mental health services, we really need to collaborate with them because they bring to suicide prevention what we as medics or as service providers don't. They have more time, they have actually more training. And this is what they do 24/7, suicide prevention. So I wish before, when Sagar was ill, I knew about a charity called Papyrus, I wish I knew that I could talk to somebody. I didn't even know who to talk to, and they have helplines. People are waiting there to help you, talk to you, and they'll talk to grandparents, parents, teachers, social workers, anyone who says, I'm concerned about this young person. How can I help them? And, it's difficult to get through to young people, but I think at least if we can talk, get some help and support, and these charities do amazing work. So I think we need to collaborate more actively as services with charities.
Absolutely, no doubt about it that we do need to work in collaboration. If we are going to make a difference, I think we need to make, work collectively. And it's not just even charities and organizations, even individuals as well, from people from within the communities, because the answers lie within the communities. Okay, and we need those, community members, people from faith backgrounds as well, to come together to find solutions and how we can really help and support our communities from whatever background you're from. And, hopefully we can do that as we move forward. You've had some really good comments and feedback in the chat, which you can, have a look at your own leisure. I think there's also a question around the video itself, as to whether that is accessible as well or not. So if you want to just answer that question, that would be good.
So, yes, I think you are planning to show the whole film after
Yes,
this.
we are. Yeah, we will. Yeah.
And once, I mean, this film is really created for educational purposes. So it's not for personal viewing because it's quite heavy emotionally. So watching it in a group actually provides safety and also gives rise to constructive conversations. And that is the idea. So if you identify any educational opportunities for this film, like today, I'd be very happy to explore that with you. And I will put my email address in the chat. And, for your local schools, like, for instance, we are showing this film at Mental Health Day at Sagar School, and lots of parents are invited. And we are going to talk about prevention in a hopeful, optimistic way, which is what we're doing now. It will happen from time to time, but we need to learn from these deaths and move forward. Yeah. So please be in touch. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, that's fine. So I'm just going to ask my colleague again, Adam, if we can just continue with the remaining part of the. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Sangeeta, and thank you for being part of this journey today. We really appreciate you being here and sharing your story and your thoughts and your input with regards to today's event. And I really hope that we can continue on this journey, on this work, and really make some difference to people's lives as we move forward.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I think it was actually Khalil Gibran, as mentioned. Khalil Gibran, actual name is Gibran, who also said, "Out of sufferings have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars." So I think life is a lot of work. What is it that gives us the strength to continue when we are tired and burnt out? Sometimes an inspirational idea can help us renew ourselves and be filled with strength to fulfill our life's purposes. Inspiration comes in many forms. However, the root of all inspiration is the idea that our lives are meaningful. Inspiration is knowing that what you do matters deeply to the universe. When you have the feelings that your actions are meaningful, you will become filled with strength and vigor to fulfill your life's purpose. So I will now move on to our speaker. I think I'll put you back on to come. Sorry. Okay. So I think we're just trying to work on. Okay, what we will do is I think we'll move on to Dr. Rebecca Lewis and her team, who's going to talk around. Dr. Rebecca is the mental health lead for DIHC, and she will kind of give an overview of the GP training, etc., that's been taken on across the Black Country. So I'll hand you over to Dr. Becky Lewis.
Thank you, Yasin. Can everybody hear me okay? Or can you give me a thumbs up? Yeah, you can hear me okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I have spoken at these events before, and I'm pleased that I have my colleague Emily with me. Emily is our IAPT team manager in Dudley Integrated Health and Care. So I'm a GP in Halesowen in Dudley, and I'm the mental health lead as I've been introduced for Dudley Integrated Health and Care. So I work very closely with my primary care colleagues and BCH to try and develop pathways and resources to help our mental health patients with need in Dudley. And I'm going to try and pick up on a couple of themes that have been touched upon this morning in some of the language that we've heard, really. Can I have my slides? Is that okay? We've only got a couple of slides to talk to, but if we can pop them up on the screen, that would be helpful. Can we do that, or shall I pop them up? I think I've got them up.
Sorry, Dr. Becky, if you can pop them up, that would be better, because I think we're having a bit of a technical issue.
Okay, let me see if I can do that. Apologies. Let me just see sharing screen. So I think the first thing to say is picking up on a theme from the video, the very powerful video that we've just watched. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, I'm sorry if some of the print is not great. Is that better? Can you see that? It says Dr. Rebecca Lewis. It says Peter Gass, my colleague in DIHC. Unfortunately, he can't be with us today, but we've got Emily, so we're very lucky to have her. So if I can just move on. So picking up on one of the things that we just heard in the previous watching the video was the word stigma, wasn't it? I find it very powerful that we still have such an issue with stigma around mental health. It was my birthday yesterday, and my one of my best friends popped in with my present. She's a fellow medic, GP, and she has severe enduring mental illness, which was diagnosed some years ago. And I still reflect on the fact that it took her about 3 months to tell me that, because she was ashamed. She was ashamed to have been diagnosed, and she was ashamed to tell me and my husband, who's also a GP, because of what we might think. And I still find that quite shocking, really. And I think there's still a long way to go and a lot of talking to do before we have got to the point where there isn't that stigma and that shame. So I'm pleased that we have forums like this to try and explore some ways of doing that better. So I'm hoping to sort of just tell you a little bit about what Dudley Integrated Health and Care is doing towards supporting our mental health patients and our wider communities, really. So this is the first slide that we have. So we have our IAPT team, Improving Access to Psychological Therapies, of which Emily is the manager and leader, which is our team of therapists, and GPs will often refer to our IAPT services, but clients can actually self-refer as well for all kinds of different therapy, including CBT and trauma-based therapy. We have a team of first contact mental health practitioners, and for those who don't know what those individuals are, these are a group of professionals who sit within primary care and offer an appointment to any patient ringing the surgery with a mental health concern. That can be anything: anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, obsessive compulsive type thoughts, and this is such a valuable service, I think, for primary care, because what it does is it gives access quickly to patients who are struggling. We all know how long you have to wait, unfortunately, nowadays for primary care appointments, which is a separate conversation in itself. But the first contact mental health practitioners can offer pretty much same day appointments, and I think that is a massive step forward for mental health services, not just in Dudley but around the country, because these teams are being implemented nationally, because it just means that at least if somebody rings up distressed, then at least they have the ability to make contact with somebody on the day. And our primary care mental health practitioner is extremely valuable to us in primary care. Then we have the primary care mental health nursing team, who sit alongside the IAPT team and often act as the bridge between primary and secondary care for patients who may be transitioning from one to the other service. And they're a very supportive service. They do offer counselling as well. So we're very lucky to have that team also working with us in DIHC. Another theme we heard in the previous talk and video was about communities and voluntary sector. So we're very lucky in Dudley, and again a lot of other areas have these teams of Integrated Plus, which is our third sector link workers. So they sit alongside us also in primary care, and we can refer to them, and they can help clients who are experiencing loneliness, isolation, low mood. They have an excellent way of connecting communities and exploring a range of options with our patients to help our patients help themselves, for want of a better phrase, to get out of themselves and reduce their loneliness and isolation and deal with the problems that may be overwhelming them, whether that is finances, benefits, housing. They are an excellent resource for us, and we've been very lucky to have them sitting alongside us for a very long time. And then we also have our listening and guidance teams who work within primary care also, and they are extremely good at helping patients who have dealt with loss. So, you know, we are very privileged, I think, in primary care at the moment to have access to so many services for our patients, because there are multiple ways, therefore, that we can support our patients who present to us with any kind of mental health issue. And I think, you know, I can only be grateful for that, really. And I think, you know, a lot of these services are available locally and nationally, and they're all used in slightly different ways in different areas. But it's incredibly important that we have that connectivity in primary care, and we work together in an integrated way with our communities and the services within those communities, because that's the only way that we're going to better support our service users. You know, with these integrated teams. I hope everybody can see that as well. So just a few things that DIHC are doing. We are part of the Zero Suicide Alliance. We are setting up a real-time suicide surveillance system. This already exists in Leicestershire, and we had a very interesting conversation with the Leicestershire system a few weeks ago as to how we can set this up along in the whole of the Black Country, working with Black Country Healthcare as well, and the police service. So this is about, as previously mentioned, this is about recognising trends in completed suicide, recognising where resources need to perhaps be diverted or where support systems could be better. If we notice that there are trends, what's interesting is, you know, when you look at the trends in Leicestershire, when we had that meeting with our teams in Leicestershire, you know, about half of completed suicides patients have been in contact with some service within the 3 months before they died, but not all of them are known to mental health services. So I think if we can get that system up and running, that will be extremely valuable to the Black Country as a whole. We have mental health first aid trainers, and we've had a lot of our front of house staff in primary care trained by Tammy and her team. I'm sure we're going to meet Tammy at some point this morning. So we're grateful to her and the teaching and training that she has provided to our teams in primary care who are dealing with our patients on a day-to-day basis. We have meetings. The ICT is integrated care team meetings with our psychiatrists from Black Country Healthcare. This is a monthly system where, again, we have a meeting with the GP, the psychiatrist, the locality link workers, district nurses, etc., and we discuss our clients, our patients who we're worried about, who we need some advice from our psychiatric colleagues about. It's a valuable learning tool, it's a valuable communication tool, and I think it's been extremely valuable that we've set that up and extremely helpful. There's still a little bit of work in progress on those, but they are coming along very well. We've recently in DIHC put forward a proposal to the Gambling Commission for some funding to set up some support workers to support patients who are experiencing gambling harms, because we know that that can be linked with suicidal ideation and completed suicide. Gambling is a big problem. I think it's under-recognised and under-treated. So we're in the process of waiting to see whether we've been successful with that. The VivUp system is our system at work that we have, where it's like a well-being system for our staff that offers certain benefits and financial incentives for products and well-being generally. What's interesting is I was on a course on Wednesday and we talked a lot about the welfare of us as individuals and professionals. A lot of us on this call work within healthcare systems, and sometimes there is, I think it was again touched upon previously, there is a culture of you have to be resilient in yourself, and if you're not, you are in some way responsible for that. I don't agree with that. I don't like the word resilience because it implies it's all on you as a person to produce that. I prefer the term psychological safety. So you feel you can get support from your colleagues at work and be able to discuss things that may be upsetting you or distressing you. Because let's face it, we're professionals, but we're also individuals. We're people. We have feelings. We have bad days, good days. And I think if we can use the term psychological safety at work, that's extremely powerful as a way of interacting with our colleagues. We're also, as previously mentioned, I'm very proud to have worked with Yasin, Rob and David to set up some GP education, also with our public health colleagues and BCH colleagues. So that's going to go live. That's on the 8th of November. It's a 3-hour session for Dudley GPs on suicide prevention, and hopefully we'll promote use of the SAFE tool after that to embed safety plans and better screening within primary care in a time pressured environment. So I'm very proud that we can bring that along on the 8th of November. And also we did some podcasting with the Black Country Blokes. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Black Country Blokes, they do a radio show and a podcast every week. And myself and 2 of my colleagues went along a few weeks ago and did a podcast with them talking about mental health. And that was great. And we're planning to do more in the future, just to sort of get it out there that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to promote conversation around mental health and well-being. And that was a very interesting experience, actually, because one of the things we spoke about was what, again, has been touched upon about the use of screens and social media and phones, and the way that we sometimes have lost a bit of connectivity as a society, because, you know, it's, unless it's on a screen, it's not real. So we talked a lot about that, really. So that was a very rewarding experience. So these are all the things that we're trying to promote and develop within DIHC for our communities. So that's just a little bit about DIHC, our contact details. That's the end of my presentation. Happy to take any questions or comments. I'll hand over to my colleague Emily now. Perhaps she would be able to speak a little bit about the IAP service and what they're doing to help their clients. So I shall stop sharing now.
Morning, all. I stepped in at the last minute, so apologies if it's not quite as polished. But no, I work for the Improving Access to Psychological Therapies team, or Dudley Talking Therapies as we're known locally. We deliver a range of different therapeutic interventions for people suffering from anxiety or depression. We, as Dr. Lewis has already sort of mentioned, we work with a range of disorders, especially, and we're seeing far more of it recently, trauma work. So we've got a range of interventions that we can support people with. For us, a big one, as has been mentioned a few times, is that reducing stigma. Everybody suffers at some point with their mental health, whether it be a couple of bad hours or a longer term effect, and whether that be from an argument with a friend, an argument with a loved one that has the effect, or those severe and enduring mental health problems. And it's supporting individuals to come forward and get the appropriate help needed to address those concerns. We are really lucky in the Black Country. We've got a range of different groups and teams that work with that mild to moderate symptoms right the way through to the specialist services in secondary care to support people, especially that of suicide. And I think stigma is one of those biggest issues, that there is still so much work to be done, not only helping people speak out, and as was said earlier, the ask twice. Usually most people have that gut feeling of, yeah, that I'm fine didn't ring true. So I think that the ask twice is really important. But also I think it's about the inquiring mind. And I think as humans, we want to avoid pain. So we tend not to ask people, and because we fear, we're not sure how to ask, what do you mean? Or say the wrong thing. So we err on the side of caution and say nothing. I think we need to ask more, but do it from an inquiring point of view, without judgment, asking people how they experience things, what it is that's happening, and explaining. If you're unsure of how to ask the question, say that. Most people prefer the honesty of, I don't really understand this myself, but I want to learn more so I can help, rather than the, oh, you need to go and talk to a professional. I think the more of us that can ask pertinent questions with an inquiring mind, the more that we can help the population around us to reduce that stigma, to seek support from everybody. This is something that I really feel needs to be delivered as a population health. It's about encouraging everyone to get on board, to ask the question, to seek support, to develop safety plans, whether you call them safety plans or not. It's that helping people find a way of managing those difficult times. Sorry, I'm waffling now because I'm on my soapbox, so I do apologise. But I know there's been a couple of things in the chat. Every area has a local IAP service in England. If you Google any of the IAPs or mental health teams, you will usually be guided to your local mental health support systems. So there's always access there for anyone that needs support. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Emily. And Dr. Becky Lewis, really appreciate your input again. But I think you just summed it up really, really nicely there, Emily. I think the approach has got to be a joint approach, a collaborative approach for us all to kind of come together to really find those answers and really help those people who really need that help. And also for people, I think, really to take an active approach in really making a meaningful difference as well. And as communities, we need to really come together, because I think Dr. Becky Lewis has mentioned it, and I think it's been mentioned a number of times in today's event as well, the word stigma. It still exists within certain communities. The stigma of suicide around mental health. So, you know, it is still there, and we still need to do a lot of work around that area. And I think the only way we can do that is by coming together and finding the answers. And I think the only way we will find answers is by engaging and bringing communities together, by working closely with communities, community networks, community groups, because the answers lie within the communities. They're all there. So we just really need to reach out to them and try and sit together and to say how best we can actually approach this and really find the answers that we are really looking for. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. Okay, we are running slightly behind schedule. I appreciate we haven't got much to go, so I appreciate if you people can still stick around for us, bear with us very shortly. I'm going to hand you over to Tammy and her team, Kay and Emma, for the mental health first aid team. And so they'll just go through some of the elements and some of the work that they are involved with. And also I just want to still suggest that obviously if anyone has been impacted in any way, shape or form today with any of the contents, the videos or the talks, please do get in touch with us through the chat. If you would like to speak to any one of our first aiders, mental health first aiders, or if you have a particular question, to get in touch with us. So if I can hand over to Kay and Emma, please.
Thanks, Yassine. Lovely, thank you very much. Emma, are you okay with sharing the slides? Fantastic.
There they are. Hopefully you can see them.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll just be dependent on you clicking them on. Thank you very much. It's so good to see so many people that have joined us today with some incredibly moving stories as well that we've shared. My name's Kay. I'm one of the mental health first aid instructors for the Black Country Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust, along with Emma, who's also an instructor, and Tammy Partridge-Smith, who is also an instructor. So we're our admin's Ree. She's not with us today. She's on annual leave, but we're a small team, but hopefully an effective team with raising that awareness around suicide first aid and mental health first aid. So if we can click on with the slide, Emma, just do a little bit of an introduction to what we do as a team. So we're responsible for delivering mental health first aid. There's some learning outcomes that we've put here in front of everyone just to get a little bit of an idea of what the training is in effect trying to achieve there. So the learning outcomes: understanding poor mental health and the factors that can affect people's well-being, including your own as well. We have mentioned that as we've gone through. It's extremely important to look after your own mental health as well. In some situations, it's paramount. Also, the training covers spotting triggers and signs of poor mental well-being. It gives people hopefully the confidence to step in. What we're trying to do is develop people's skills and knowledge so that they can be more aware sooner. I know in the video we mentioned, it was mentioned about how many people walk past at that railway station. And I think if we can sort of raise that awareness and people are more aware of what they're looking for and feel more confident to have a conversation, hopefully we can reduce the stigma that still exists around the topic of suicide. It's to reassure and support a person in distress. So that's our other aim within the training. Enhanced interpersonal skills such as non-judgmental listening, which is a major part of both the mental health first aid training and the suicide first aid training. It's really paramount that, you know, we understand our own perspective so we can park that to one side and we can listen with completely non-judgmentally when we're supporting someone who may be in crisis. Signposting resources for common mental health conditions. We've got lots of those that we can share with you, and I think Yasin said at the end everything will be shared that we talk about anyway, so you'll have access to any resources that you haven't already got. Absolutely, we could give you a sort of a whole bundle of those. Can we click on to the next slide, Emma? That's okay. So this slide here is just explaining, it sort of gives you the gist there of what our aims are with the training courses that we've got with raising that awareness. But if you want to contact us at any time, that's absolutely fine. We're here to support. If you have any questions, if you're interested in perhaps taking part in the training, then we have some contact information. Again, this will go out at the end anyway, but we have an email address there with general inquiries that you can contact us. You can contact myself, Emma, or Tammy directly. But we do have a general email there and everything is picked up on a regular basis there, so we'll get back to you ASAP. So if you are interested in attending any of the mental health first aid or suicide first aid training courses that we provide, please feel free to contact us and be happy to send you information on that. So a little bit more around our roles and our aims. I'll share mine if you want me to now, Emma, or have you got mine ready?
Sorry, Kay, I haven't. I'm afraid I can if you like, though.
That's okay. I'll just share my slides now. Bear with me a second. Let's put that on presenter view. Oops. Let's just go back a slide. There we go. I'm jumping ahead. So some of the things that we wanted to highlight and that we talk about within the training has already been spoken about quite a lot throughout today's session. So just wanted to highlight a few points there. Awareness of language. So when we're having a conversation about suicide, it's always important that we use neutral and inclusive language. Avoid using language that could cause someone more emotional pain than they're already feeling. And being mindful of the terminology that we use that will prevent us, by being mindful of this, it'll prevent us from feeding into that stigma that we've mentioned and talked about. So I've just got some examples here. So we don't use the word commit anymore. So this can relate to committing a crime or an offence. And suicide isn't an offence and hasn't been in the UK since 1961. There was a change in the law. By raising awareness around terminology such as this, then we won't feed into the emotional pain that someone might already be feeling or will be feeling when they lose someone to suicide or suicide touches their life in some way or another. So if we can change that word commit, we're trying now to sort of educate people and make people more aware to change that to perhaps terminology such as a person who died by suicide or a person that's being touched in some way by suicide. Okay, so the word commit we're trying to avoid, because what happens is that feeds into that emotional pain and it increases the stigma that we're trying so hard to reduce. So it's being aware, and those are some of the things we talk about on the training courses that we deliver so that we can be more aware and more mindful, so we can prevent feeding into that stigma. It's mentioned again here, raising the awareness around language is really important. So it's something that we need to be very mindful of. We'll talk quite a lot about it in the courses. Remembering that mental health first aid and suicide first aid work, both of the training courses work collaboratively and they focus on using inclusive language throughout. It both of the courses give the skills to recognise warning signs and hopefully the confidence to support a person to start that initial conversation and to support a person who may be in suicidal crisis to help to keep them safe. We do have some resources as well. They're by no means a comprehensive list there that we've got, but there are some examples, and you can see that Papyrus is up there amongst a lot of other examples there. It's not a comprehensive list. There's lots more organisations available. With the training, there's a digital manual that also has lots of these listed and lots of others as well, additional. We'll be sharing some at the end of today, as we've mentioned. And I think it's just really important that having a conversation with someone about suicide isn't easy, and you want to be able to help them and give them the help that's going to help them the most, if that makes sense. So by having that conversation with that non-judgmental listening and just listening to them so that you can signpost or support them and get the appropriate help that they need in that moment is just so important. There's plenty of support out there, and we've got the few suggestions we've mentioned on the slide, as I've said, but by working collaboratively and working together with other health professionals, we can get that person the best help and support for them. You don't have to do it all on your own. Partnership working is something that we also talk about within the courses. And it means with partnership working, we can work with allied professionals and share those responsibilities and work as a team to keep that person safe. Just wanted to mention at the end of this slide too, don't underestimate the impact that supporting someone in suicidal crisis may have on you. It can be very stressful, very emotional, and your own self-care is really important too. And remember that self-care isn't selfish at all. It's something that needs to be at the top of your list so that you can be in the best position to support that person in front of you. And I hand over to Emma now to follow on from that, if that's okay, Emma.
Thanks, Kay. Yes, and
I will stop sharing.
Thank you. My section leads on nicely to that. So let me just bring my slides up for everyone. Hopefully you can see that now. Should be a title saying 5 ways to wellbeing, which is what I'm going to talk about for the next minute or two, which just leads on nicely from what Kay said about self-care and helping yourself as well as helping other people. So the 5 ways to wellbeing is a strategy to improve or maintain your sense of wellbeing. They were first summed up in 2008 as a result of a global evidence-based project and are as follows: connect, be active, take notice, keep learning, and give. The idea is that if you can include some or all of these actions into your life, then they will act as a protective factor from any risks that may harm your well-being or mental health. We can all benefit from the 5 ways to well-being, but for those of us who are at increased risk of suicidal crisis, their protective factor may take on even more importance. Not only do they increase our resilience to situations, they also create an escape and stress release from tough times. Got a link here and I'll pop it in the chat shortly for you as well. So how does it work? For Connect, you can spend time with friends, family, or community groups, and this can decrease feelings of isolation. Be active. Exercise is proven to minimize the symptoms of depression and anxiety and boost self-esteem. Even a walk around the block can be enough to clear your head and improve your mood, but anything that gets your blood pumping would work. Take notice. Take in the scenery around you. Try to spot something you haven't seen before, even in familiar surroundings, or observe the changing seasons. Being aware of the world around you can help you reflect on your own experiences and help you appreciate what matters to you. Keep learning. Try a new recipe, learn a new language or instrument, or read a new book. Setting challenges and achieving them can increase confidence and may help you find a new way to have fun or relax. And give. Checking in with a friend, thanking someone, or volunteering. Looking outward as well as inwards can link you in with loved ones, the wider community, and can be very rewarding and bring a sense of satisfaction, as well as creating connections to those around you. So by adding a combination of the above into your life, you may decrease any feelings of isolation, increase your appreciation for the world around you, boost your self-esteem, discover new hobbies, and increase your sense of satisfaction and connection to others. These are all powerful protective factors and help keep us resilient in times of crisis. They can also be a great help for the support network surrounding someone in crisis, and we can all benefit from these protective factors, no matter our mental health. We cover the 5 ways to wellbeing in both mental health first aid training and suicide first aid training. I'll pop the link into a chat in just a second. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Emma. And Kay, really nice to have you aboard. And I can't stress enough the level of support and help that the mental health team have provided, including Tammy, who's obviously not able to join us today because she's on annual leave. But the team do absolutely a marvelous job in helping to deliver the message around mental health first aid, and not just to colleagues, but also communities out there as well. And then supporting GPs and the surgeries and all the wonderful work that they do. And they are absolutely a key instrumental part of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And so we really appreciate everything that you guys do, the whole team. And thank you for taking the time out to join us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If everyone could just stay on, if people have got time, because we've run over time because we're so well planned here. And I want to play a short video by someone called Kay Channon. I met her through a poetry group that I run, just a sort of well-being poetry group. And she's totally inspirational. She's a PhD student, a disability rights online blogger, appeared on online magazines such as London Progressive, and I'm Not a Silent Poet. As you can say, she's got an interest similar to mine in poetry, but absolute inspiration. So please stay on. Can we play the video?
Hello, and thank you to David for the introduction. It's an unexpected privilege to speak with you today. I'm at a hospital appointment at the moment, so if you have any questions, please email David and he will forward them on to me. Indeed, I am a published poet, and although this occupation does not provide me with a wage, it does give me something far more important, a voice. This is something everyone has access to, even if it isn't expressed in a way which involves spoken language. But what can happen if my voice, or indeed anyone else's, isn't heard? And as I say in one of my poems, it lets the darkness speak. Well, in the next few minutes, I will be talking about a few personal experiences where my voice became lost in the darkness and the difficulties I faced because of this. Before I continue, I ask that you keep two things in mind. The first being, these are my own personal experiences. They are not a replacement for professional medical advice. And the second is that life doesn't come with an instruction manual. The same situation or health condition, or indeed conditions, can affect everyone differently. So please fill out the safety plan online. You never know when you might need it. After multiple complications from pneumonia in 2018, I thought the worst was over. But I was wrong. I'd already spent 24 days nil by mouth. I wasn't even allowed to drink water. It was medically unsafe. I had 2 nasal feeding tubes which had failed, so intravenous feeding was no longer an option. It wasn't till around day 27 in the hospital before food could be safely introduced again. Recovery was slow. Food was not staying down, and I experienced further weight loss, yet more pneumonia, then E. coli, which eventually resulted in another hospital admission and hallucinations. Such a high focus was placed on my physical state, my mind was forgotten, even by me. I began not to sleep at all, and when I could, I still could only spend about 2 hours in my wheelchair a day. You may not see it on camera, but I don't stand or walk, so it's my primary aid for daily living. Writing and reading are my main interests, and I wasn't able to engage in either of these. I was on too many medications, and as a result, there were lots of interactions. Even now, I have to keep a close eye on myself, as I have 11 diagnosed medical conditions, and as a result, see many different doctors. There was a significant disagreement about my mental health when a flag was finally raised after seeing 2 different psychiatrists. One said I definitely was depressed, and the other said I was not. I began antidepressants for the first time and tried every FDA-approved type for around a 9 to 10th month period without a break. The GPs doubled the dose when I said they weren't helping. The nausea became almost unbearable, and the numb feelings endless. And of course, with this, I began to lose weight again. I thought there was something wrong with me because I knew they were supposed to help, and they just weren't. But what do all these events have to do with voices, you might be asking? Well, not only did I have my own internal voice of doubt begin to creep in, as in I began to wonder whether there was actually anything physically left wrong with me that I didn't already know about, but I also began to hear voices as a side effect of these medications. This was something I'd never experienced before, and it scared me because they sounded so real and often echoed in the darkness at night. And lastly, of course, I had the voices of people outside the loop, asking questions like, "Aren't you better yet?" And "Why are you crying again?" Well-meaning and very good questions, but I didn't have the answers. When I finally got to one-to-one counselling, I was unable to keep my appointments because of not having the energy to get out of bed, due to the severity of the E. coli I contracted and suspected chronic fatigue syndrome, which unfortunately still cannot be proved to this day. These were some key points which led to me calling the Samaritans, who I have to say were brilliant and persuaded me somehow yet again to return to the GP. On this particular visit, I didn't see my normal GP, but an on-call urgent GP. By this time, I'd developed a strategy for attending appointments. Always write a letter or bullet points before going, even if they all say the same thing but to different doctors, or say the same thing to the same doctors. Because, believe it or not, even before COVID, I'd often turn up and the doctor hadn't read the letter from gastro, or respiratory hadn't read the letter from neurology, etc. You get the idea. In these situations, my ears still felt like they were receiving an extract from a medical textbook found in Google, though. My mind began to settle on the idea that no cure equals no life, or at least not a life that is worth anything, or that you can be proud of. I can tell you all truly, this is a myth. None of my conditions have a cure. Some of them even fluctuate. I've been in hospital since. And I'm still proud of my life, even if it's achieving what some would consider little things. But I need to take you back a few steps before we go any further. During this visit to an urgent on-call GP after speaking to the Samaritans, I was given a tablet that helped mental health but wasn't an antidepressant. It wasn't until then that both these voices stopped. I could hear my own inner voice once again, loud and clear, the positive one, and I was determined not to have this tablet withdrawn, even though it wasn't a common long-term treatment for mental health. It took a lot of determination, but I managed to get this treatment continued, which is helping me to this day. And of course, it took time and patience, because this also meant stopping some of my other medications and building up my self-confidence, learning to handwrite again, getting used to improved vision, and making the use of the return of concentration. However, without this particular tablet, I would never have made it through shielding 16 months away from my friends, family, and any other visitors alone in one room. There are certain situations I still have to shield from, so often isolation is still a frequent emotion that I struggle to control and deal with. I met so many amazing but medically vulnerable people through online groups, and it saddens me to have lost touch with some of them. Now activities have gone back to the in-person setup. But what I want to say to everyone listening today is speak out, be proud, and be you. And of course, most of all, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much for all of you stayed on. There's still 100 of you on. I'm going to give you a round of applause. I'm really pleased because Kate is such an inspiration to me. I talk to her regularly, and absolutely amazing lady. You'll be able to hear her live at our mental health first aid event. Not mental health first aid, mental health day event on Monday the 10th of October, and she'll be speaking about on another topic to do with mental health. And yeah, she's inspirational. She couldn't make it today because, funnily enough, she had a hospital appointment. So thank you everyone for attending. It's everyone that attends that makes these events. We just enable it. So thank you so much. I'll pass back over to Mohammed.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that. Really, so we really apologize. Obviously, we have gone over our scheduled time. Thank you for staying with us. So I just really want to, before we just wrap up, I just need a couple of more minutes, and then we can let you all go. So I think the key thing to remember is that from time to time, we all feel we all feel down, no matter what our age or background. But if you haven't been feeling yourself for a while, it is important, and we've said this again and again throughout this event as well. It's important to talk to someone, or also to mention as well, the Black Country 24/7 helpline is here to help you as well. The helpline offers a range of services which provide support at times and places when people need it the most. We can help with advice from emotional support, triage, referrals, and signposting. You don't need to be referred by your GP or other health professionals. You can just reach out for help when you need it. And mental health professionals will be on hand to help you avoid a crisis and help you find the recovery, the path to recovery. The number is, it's a free phone number, 0800 008 6516, and one of my colleagues will also put it in the chat as well. You can also visit our website, which is www.blackcountryhealthcare.nhs.uk, which is also full of useful information and signposting information. So either way, you can get in touch with us and find out more. And really what I want to say is, so everyone who's here today, it's only with your continued and support and contribution, and by listening and learning and sharing, and really everyone coming together, that we can hope to make a positive difference and bring a ray of hope to people's lives, and to make our events bigger and better. I mean, for next year, we're already looking at doing a large scale, possibly face-to-face event, but we will keep you informed and posted with regards to that as we go into the new year. But the key thing to remember is, look, hope is a powerful thing. It inspires us to do the impossible and helps us to carry on during difficult times. Hope also reduces the feeling of helplessness, and increases happiness, reduces stress, and improves our quality of life. And hope can come in many different shapes and forms. It may be through your favorite music, or a good book, which I enjoy. I love reading good books, or even by listening to your favorite song. But the key thing is never lose hope in whatever you're doing. And there is a saying, I think, I can't remember who it said, but just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, what happened? It became a butterfly. So the moment you're ready to quit is usually the moment right before a miracle happens. And you need to believe in that. So don't give up, don't quit, believe in yourself, and never lose hope. I hope this event has been useful. And we will share the slides and the contents after the event. So everyone who's here today, you will get all the details, including the copy and the links to the safety plans as well, which my colleagues were talking about earlier on. So all that, and the results of the Mentimeter polls as well, we will share those with you as well. So, if you are struggling with anything, you can get in touch with us. We know most of you, you know us as well. So just reach out to us. You all have our contact details. It will be good to hear from you. And really, just lastly, what I want to say is, on behalf of the Black Country Healthcare, I just want to extend our sincere thanks to everyone who has contributed in making this event possible. All our guest speakers, Dr. Sangeeta Mahajan, Dr. Becky Lewis, Emma Kay, Tammy, the Mental Health First Aid team, and everyone else, Jeremy, our chair, Kamal as well, who is our PMO manager, for making this webinar possible. Before I let you go, my last message, as always, is as we're approaching winter, and COVID hasn't left us yet. So it is there. We don't know what it's going to be like towards, around Christmas time, with the variants. So just please stay safe. Look after yourself and look after people around you as well, around within your community. We will be doing a COVID winter webinar update as well in the first week of November. We will post out the details of that in the coming weeks, so you will have that. We also have our World Mental Health Day event on the 10th of October, which you can register. We also have a monthly well-being surgery, which you can attend, and it is really open to anyone, where we just kind of meet on Zoom and really share how we've been in a safe space for discussion, help, support, well-being session, and really share our thoughts and experiences. And without the lanyards or the badges, just be yourself, and over a cup of tea, whatever you enjoy. So everyone is really welcome. It's a safe space to meet with others from across the Black Country and wider, to share your thoughts and feelings, and know that you are not alone. If you wish to join us, please email me and I will forward you the Zoom joining link, and it will be good to see you. So lastly, just stay safe, be kind, and reach out to someone. If you're really struggling, reach out to someone. because there is always someone there. And always believe in yourself that, you know, whatever challenges that you're facing, you can overcome them. And believe that miracles still do happen. They do. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. God bless you. And I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.